Let's do this one. All right, today we're going to talk. Hold on. I found another. Okay, with that being done, today we're going to talk about Greely County, named after Mr. Horace Greely. So I think I've said this about almost every one of these people. He's an interesting guy. Horace Greeley is going to be born in poverty in New Hampshire, and he's going to later go on to find the New York Tribune. Greeley is today what we would call a liberal, and even back then, he was a liberal. He was a member of the Whig Party, vehemently against slavery, wanted nothing to do with it, thought it was morally corrupt and economically bad for the entire country. Was a Whig and was one of the main founders of the Republican Party. During the Civil War, his newspaper is publishing plenty of stuff that is Union propaganda. He supports Lincoln. Most of the time thinks he needs to do more on slavery, is very pleased when Lincoln issues the Emancipation Proclamation. But after Lincoln's death, he splits from the radical Republicans. And he is going to go on to later run for president against Ulysses S. Grant. Now, when I say that, it makes you think like he'd be running as a member of the Democratic Party, because that was the only other party that really existed and had power at the time. However, Greeley is running as what's called a liberal Republican. The Liberal Republican Party stands for a couple different things. It is for equality of African Americans, but it is also calling for the end to Reconstruction. Also, this Liberal Republican Party was mainly founded in opposition to Ulysses S. Grant. During the time, there was this big perception that Grant and his cabinet was corrupt. It really was corrupt. Grant wasn't corrupt himself, but he had a lot of people with a lot of fingers and a lot of pots making a lot of money off of his administration. So their big movement is to get Grant out of office to get this corruption out of there. Greeley is going to be painted by the Republican Party and by Thomas Nast, who's a famous cartoonist who Grant actually credits with him winning that presidential election. So spoiler alert there, as a supporter of the Ku Klux Klan, wants to spit on Lincoln's grave and just undo everything that the Union has done to try to maintain this. Greeley favored reconciliation. He didn't really want like the South to have open arms and reenact Jim Crow, even though that's what happens, but that's kind of what he was going for. During this time, the Credit Mobilier scandal, which incorporated a lot of people who were in Grant's administration, breaks. However, Greeley can't take advantage of it because he's also invested in the same company that went bankrupt that was getting all these deals. So he was making money off the same corruption he was railing against Grant for. Greeley gets maybe unfairly painted in the press as being this regressive. He's not really liberal anymore, and Grant wins the election. Unfortunately, the day, like 5 days before the election, Greeley's wife dies, and he passed away a month later. Horace Greeley.